But let's talk about the nuts and bolts of what you do and kind of the evolution of your sound, because a major part of your show, I don't want to say a major because it is an accessory, but the harmonizer and the looping machine. I want to talk about that a little bit with you.
Yeah.
What's the strategy behind adding those elements to your show, and what creatively do these tools allow you to do live that you couldn't do before?
I, when I first started using the looper and the harmonizer, it really wasn't. I really wasn't uh, rehearsed in it enough to really do it live. So I just started out really, really small. And the more that I've used it, the more comfortable I've become with it. But I, I had the biggest part of, and I tell young guys this too. It's those two things are immensely easy to lay on, like as crutches. Your stuff has to be good without it.
Yep.
Like you just it has to
It's
enhance
back to
it.
that foundation that we talked about before. Building that
Yeah,
foundation is more important,
yeah.
right?
Like you have to build the foundation down to where it's you have to be solid on your own, and then you can start doing the loop and stuff. And I know guys who are incredible. I mean, I'm talking like top notch looper guys, but it takes them like 25 minutes to start a song, and I'm like, you don't need all that. People just want to hear the song with
Yep.
with like a little bit added, some salt and pepper added in, whatever you want to do. People will love that. They just love that. And same thing with the harmonizer too. Like the harmonizer, you don't use it like through the whole song. Like you just or every song. Like there's some songs that I'm just like it just doesn't sound good in that song. Like
Mhm.
it just like I like it to be a singer songwriter song, so I'm just going to leave it with no harmony and
Is
that kind of thing. I
is
think
is part of the
use it
strategy
sparingly.
is part of the strategy to try to give a more full band sound to fill the room more? Is that part of it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. Like, and the cool thing is it kind of it kind of takes away from the monotony of just having a guy with a guitar.
Exactly.
So you're yeah. So you're at a show and you got people that want to see your show, and they're there watching, and your first five songs are just you with a guitar. After the fifth song, they're like, "Hey, I bet the next song is just the guy with the guitar. There's nothing cool after that." Like, you
Yeah.
know so you just add the little small lead parts, or you add in a harmony part, or do some cool little looping ideas or whatever else, and try to spice it up a little bit, so that way it breaks the monotony of the show, and
Just
people go, oh, that's pretty cool. How does he do that? Like, that's pretty cool.
just so smart,
So
man. Just so smart, and I mean, you're so serious about your art too, in a way that people can notice, even though you're happy-go-lucky, joyful person, very kind every time I see
yeah.
you. But there's a lot of thought and seriousness in your art that people don't know about, and that's why this show is so cool,
Oh,
man. Because we get to
yeah.
talk about things like that.
Yeah.
So one of the things I know that you're extremely proud of is the multitude of talented artists that you've been fortunate to share the stage with over the years. Do you have
Yes.
a favorite artist or artists that you have met or opened for?
My favorite artist I ever met and got to share the stage with was Fats Domino.
Let's go,
I played
bro!
I played drums for Fats Domino.
Wow,
His, yeah, it was in Haynesville, Louisiana. It was crazy.
that's
I was
insane.
playing.
You got to have a story from
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, yeah. We were. I was in the country band, and we all one of those nights where we all drove separately because we were going to be off the next few nights. And I was sitting in my truck, and I was counting out my my money from that night, and this bus pulls in, and guy gets out, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's Fats Domino's bus, and I didn't know that. And then another bus pulls in. Well, then I look over, and I was like I was looking inside my stick bag, and I had left my drum key on the drums. They had house drums there, which was amazing. They were already mic'd up and everything. You just sat behind the drums. So I was like, oh man, I left my drum key. So I go back in and I pick up the thing, pick up my drum key, and this guy comes up, and he was a bass player for Pat Domino, and he's like, hey man, did you play drums tonight? I said, yeah. He said, you got a show tomorrow night? And I said, no. He goes, man, our drummer is sick so bad. He's like throwing up on the bus. He's like, man, would you please play drums for us tomorrow night? And I was like, who is us? And he's like, Fats Domino. And I was like, "Are you?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." And so, and so I was like, "Man, I don't even know the songs." And he hands me a CD. It's a burnt CD of the songs they were going to do. They had been doing it on tour, and it was 12 songs. And he was like, "Go sit in your truck and listen." And I sat in my truck and learned those on my steering wheel, and just kept going over and over and over. And fell asleep in my truck. Got up the next day, went back into the place, and the guy just he wasn't as big as me, but they had a keyboard player, a side keyboard player that was the same size as me. So they gave me one of those cool jackets.
Nice.
So I was wearing like this really cool jacket with a white button down, and I was playing drums. And he was like, "Hey man, if you know 4/4 swing or and shuffle, and 6/8 swing and shuffle," he's like, "That's the whole show." I'm
So
like, "Cool."
the real question here is what did you give that drummer, Clint? What did you poison him with?
Yeah, man, it was one of those weird things. And I will tell you the coolest thing about Fats Domino. I will tell you this: the coolest story about the whole thing is that we went to get paid at the end of the night because I didn't know how you got paid, and the whole band lined up beside his bus, and the doors would open on his bus, and he stuck his head out and he said next, and each member went in solo and they shut the door, and each
Wow.
member got paid individually, and he thanked you for playing.
Wow.
And so it got to my turn, and I got to sit right down in front of him. He wrote me a check, and then he said, "Hey, here's another $300. The bass player wanted you to have his money because you did a great job."
Wow.
And he gave me $300. It was probably the only time that was in like early 2000, 99, 2000, something like that. And shortly after that, he became a Hall of Famer, and it was crazy. And it was one of those things where it just don't seem real that he's sitting there. Like it don't even seem real to you. But
Man,
he's such a nice guy.
yeah, it's
Absolutely wonderful.
it's definitely a crazy experience when you meet somebody who's uber famous, and then you realize almost immediately how human they are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always a great
They don't
experience.
seem like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't seem like they would be that way.
yeah.
But over those years of music that he has seen and all those places he's played, it never really changed him any. He was just like, I just play piano and sing
And
songs,
I'm going to keep it real. In my experience, like I've been very honored and blessed to have talked to a lot of artists on that level. Very, very fortunate.
Yeah,
And every single one of them has been very human. I've never met anybody that
yeah,
I thought was pretentious or egocentric or any of that. Like, if you treat them like they're human, they treat you like you're human, and you can just have a
yeah,
conversation, just like we're having, And it's pretty
yeah.
dope.